Hi, friends. This is Wendy Harrop, and welcome to the Say Yes to Yourself podcast. On the Say Yes to Yourself podcast, you'll hear stories from women just like us who are adding the practice of saying yes in their daily lives in big and small ways, and as a result, are experiencing the truth that everybody wins when you say yes to yourself. Saying yes to yourself is a graceful unfolding, an intentional becoming of the very best version of you. It is my hope that in these conversations, we are able to find our truth and be inspired and empowered to live our very best lives. I'm so excited to go on this journey with you, and I look forward to finding a bit of our own story in each other's. Hey friend, welcome back to the podcast. I'm so glad you're here. I hope you are having a wonderful summer. I hope the sun is cooperating, that the temperature is cooperating, and that you're just finding bliss and delight everywhere that you look. I know that we always find what we're looking for. So I trust that you are curating your intention the way that I know that you do. So today's guest, she's so fun and so cool. And I know you are going to be really excited to hear about her fabulous offerings and her fun retreats. They are miles apart from what I do in France or even here at the Phineas Wright House. So I'm just super excited. I love to meet women that are saying yes to themselves in the ways that would be an easy yes for me. And I love meeting women that their yes is a departure from something I ever even considered, and their passion and their desire to create something fabulous in the world just gets me right on board. And that is the total truth for today's guest. Today, I am chatting with Sarah Dale. And after a 30-year career in advertising, she created Project 1490 by combining her years in leadership with her experiences living in Montana. She's been fortunate to work at great brands like the Wall Street Journal, Fortune, and Nativo, where she led big teams and drove hundreds of millions in revenue. She's won tons of awards, and although she's had an impressive career, her love of nature and experiences in the wilds of Montana are what started her wish to get other corporate women to build their own badassery and confidence by learning outdoor skills. Project 1490 now provides the opportunity not only for women to have a unique outdoor experience that helps them go beyond who they think they are, but they can also build their corporate networks and confidence and have a ton of fun in the process. Okay, I thought of easily 25 women that would be so into this that I could send her way. I'm sure you are going to think of people as well. So please share this episode with anyone you think is perfect for Project 1490, and get ready to listen to how she came up with the name and all the fabulous things that Sarah Dale is up to in this fabulous conversation. Sarah Dale, I am so excited to have this conversation, to hear all the wonderful things that you're up to and how you're changing the world. So thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. That's great.
Well, we'll start with the question I ask all my guests, and that is, how are you saying yes to yourself in this season?
Wow. Well, I think I in the past year, I've said some big yeses. I've had some ideas cooking for a very long time of, I wish I could, but I can't kind of dreams. And about a year ago, I finally said, I got to do something. And so I started, one one company I started on the side, and then I've just left my corporate job to pursue both that and another company. And I just feel like I'm finally in one of those places that you hear about people saying, if you do what you love, you'll never work a day in your life. And until you really are doing what you love, you don't believe them. But it's finally sort of like that for me. And that it's a long time coming to say yes, but finally I did.
Oh, I love that for you. I'm so excited and I can't wait to hear more. And it's true.
Yeah.
Like I'm only available for what delights me. So all of the dreamy things that I do all day long and here in Massachusetts and in France and on the podcast and all sorts of fun things.
Great.
And it's true. It doesn't that old adage has so much truth in it. And I love that you have crossed over to the other side.
Yeah, it feels like that.
That's so great. So tell us what you're up to. What was worth making this big leap?
Yeah, so it's hard to put it into a short story so far, but
I've got nothing but time for you, my friend.
I appreciate it. So long time ago, I lived in Montana for 7 years. I'm from New York City, New Jersey area, and sort of was driven to, I'm going to climb the corporate ladder as fast as I can. And I made a hard left turn and moved to Montana for a while in my 20s, early 30s. And I had an idea while I was out there because of my experience of like really seeing what nature, being connected to nature could do for a person and a soul, I suppose. I had this idea around taking like city women out there and doing kind of a Outward Bound meets Oprah kind of
So
retreat,
cool.
teaching people the stuff that I was lucky enough to meet people who taught me how to bow hunt and fly fish and really ride horses and snowboard and all kinds of different stuff that I learned out there from just chopping wood, like and feeling so empowered by the kind of self-reliance that gives me. And so I wanted to do something with this, like get people out into nature. And so fast forward now 20 something years later, I came back to New York, had a career, was a C-level executive, and just left last in January because now I'm doing these two companies. And one is a mobile glamping company. It's called the Canvas Experience, and it gets people out into nature, making it easy for people, whether it's their backyards or campgrounds and that sort of thing. And that kind of parlayed me into starting to create this retreat that I had imagined years ago. And it kind of expanded into using my corporate background. Like, wouldn't this be amazing for corporate women? And so I built out a new company called Project 1490 that is basically a community now of corporate women who get out of their comfort zones, do some badass stuff, and also support each other in career and leadership. And so I created a community around that, and both have launched successfully, and that's what I'm up to.
Oh my gosh, it's so cool. So I'm really eager to hear about the community and what the tenets of that are and how that's working and how that was received. You say that it launched successfully. I'm really interested in your definition of successful as well.
That's great. Well, I have somewhat of a tech background. I was just in ad tech most recently, and there's a idea of minimally viable product, right? So when I had the idea, my MVP was, let me just do this in a half a day. Let's see the experience. It's very experience driven.
Right.
So I created what I call a day of Badassery. And I have about 10 women come to my house. I have like 3 acres. It's not a lot, but it'll do. And about an hour north of New York City.
Okay.
And they come, we do a series of activities of archery, jump starting a car, herding chickens, building fires, chopping woods, that kind of stuff. Stuff that if you live in a city, you may not have ever been exposed to those things, right?
Right. Or if you live in California and then move to an antique farmhouse in Massachusetts.
That's right, exactly.
Yes.
That's stuff you really need to know how to do.
Right.
So, yes, we do that. And then we get dressed up for dinner, like really dressed up. And we go into one of my glamping tents that is beautifully set up as a lounge. And we have charcuterie and wine, and we have a really great discussion around a real career or leadership topic. And then we move into our other tent, which no one has seen yet. And we unzip it, and it is all flowers and candles, and it's a dining tent, and we have a private chef come and service a 3-course meal and more wine and a lot of bonding and a lot of conversation and a lot of networking that is a lot more fun than the typical show up and eat cardboard crackers and stuff like
Oh my
that. So,
gosh.
and when I say it's successful, it's just gone beyond my imagination of what that could be, because honestly, I thought like people would be talking about like, oh, did you see me do archery and bullseye, and I did this thing and I did that thing and whatever, and they talk about it a little bit, but mostly the feedback is like, that was like outside of time. That was, I can't believe I made 5 new friends, like those kinds of like much more real
Mm.
things that are happening. And to me, that's the definition of success. It's like people are walking away with different impressions of themselves and new connections with other people they otherwise wouldn't have met. And they see things in themselves and others that they didn't see before.
I love everything about this. It sounds amazing. As a former wedding planner, I love the big reveal that you have going from tent to tent. That's so fun. As now a woman who holds space for women that are holding space for themselves here at the house, and whether they're doing a farm stay or coming for, I have a summer solstice white party or Friendsgiving, like all sorts of fun, dreamy
Ah,
experiences that, like what you're doing, they provide a pattern interrupt. And it's so amazing what happens. Like you said, it's outside of time, that there's just, you create this amazing vortex where there's no competition, there's just open heartedness and community and camaraderie and championing new ideas and each other. And it's just, it's so magical. And I see it in what I do over and over and over again, just like you're seeing it. And yet, I think that we live in a culture that the narrative says, oh, you can't get a bunch of women together. They're so catty. They're so competitive. It's like, what group of women have you ever
that's
been
right.
in,
Who are you
dude?
hanging out with?
It's
No,
like, that
it's
is
true.
not what happens.
It's interesting. It's so interesting because one thing that I have found is this, I think the secret sauce to this whole thing is this doing things that are outside of people's comfort zones. It gets everybody into a place of, I don't have to know, like executive women. I mean, we're all like, I'm supposed to know the answers to everything. I'm supposed to appear super confident all the time, all that kind of stuff. And it allows for this other place to come out of like, that has a lot less pretense and a lot less layers on top of us, and it enables us to be super supportive and nurturing, which is so in us as women, I think.
Right.
And so you'll watch people learning especially when we're doing the archery, when somebody like picks up on something, they're like, oh, this, oh, and they share it, and they're like, oh, did you try it this way? Maybe move your arm. And like everybody's like being super helpful. And so the support starts with these activities and people going into the unknown in themselves. By the time we get into the conversation, everybody's really relaxed and ready to really just not have to put on any airs whatsoever. And then we have a real discussion,
Right.
instead of a lot of, people sort of,
Right. Talking about nothing.
you know,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, I love that. I love it. And I love that you're showing them things that aren't just random. Like, I have not attended one of these things, and no offense to anyone that thinks this is amazing, but like this axe situation, it's like, well, I'm never going to do that.
That's right.
But
Let's hope not.
right, like there's really no, I mean, cutting wood, yes, but there's just something empowering in knowing how to do something that will come in handy at some point, whether you have to actually do it yourself or you encounter somebody and you can coach them through the changing of the tire or the when my I'm divorced, and when my ex left, I stayed. I love this house, I love this farm, I'm here for it, and I had to learn how to, I already mowed the lawn, so I already knew how to do the tractor, but I had to learn how to use the blower and the wood chipper and the
Yeah.
chainsaw and all of these things. And every time I learned, I wasn't mad that I was the one doing it.
Right.
It was like, I'm a effing queen.
That's right.
I am a badass, and I will come and chop your wood too because I know how to do it.
That's right. And then you build by doing those things and learning all those things, you build like this reservoir of confidence or badassery or whatever you want to call it, that then you go into the other walks of your life, right? Like your job or your family or whatever. And you have that to call on, and it changes everything. And there is a huge, when I was starting this, a friend of mine said like, oh, you're like bottling confidence. And I thought that was interesting. Wasn't what I set out to do, but I was like, oh, that's an interesting take on it. I started Googling, like, what is the science of confidence, And it's so fascinating because I didn't Google how is the lack of confidence holding women back in their careers, but that's what I found. And there's all this research of like, wow, there's a huge gap between our confidence level all of our lives, except for this very brief period when we're in our early 50s.
Mm-hmm.
And then and it affects the opportunities that we step forward for. It affects how many times and how much raises we, how often we ask for raises or promotions. So it does affect us. And the coolest thing about it is it's entirely in our control to fix. We don't have to wait for the world to change. We don't have to wait for people to figure out that we're incredibly valuable and should have more of the top jobs and all that kind of stuff. We can actually this piece of it is in our control because you build confidence. Some of the ways that you build confidence is to get out of your comfort zone, to learn new things, to be surrounded by other supportive, confident women, and helping other women. So to me, I really could have read all of that and then created Project 1490, but I didn't actually know any of that. I was just going on my own experience, right? Because of my own career and the experiences I had in Montana. So it really does work.
It's beautiful. And I love how the trajectory was different, and you weren't informed by the definitions, but they validate
Yeah.
everything that you've seen. It's beautiful. And I have heard so often that confidence is on the other side of courage. and doing this thing. And I love that even that ingredients or the steps that you said to gain confidence, those are all things we already like to do.
Yeah. Isn't that great?
So it doesn't make sense that we don't have, it's like someone sold us this idea that you can't get a group of women together because all they're going to do is complain. Also, not true. And that we can't be, that we're not good at it or whatever. Like all of these lies that are just, they're just disproved when we step into what we authentically desire, which is community and connection and collaboration and all of these beautiful things that you're providing.
Well, I think the name of your podcast is really interesting in terms of say yes to yourself, because I think actually there's a whole lot to your point of sort of lies or falsities that are, pretend in that are in our way.
Right.
However, the stuff that's really in our way is that saying yes to ourselves, I think. One is like having, ease of opportunity,
Sure.
right? Because the where do you go to learn archery and how to drive a bulldozer or use a chainsaw? Like if you live in
Right.
the city, how do you do that? So that's one piece. And we're all intensely busy, right? We have jobs, big jobs, we have family, kids, all of those things that, somebody said to me who came to the very first day of Badassery that I held as an experiment. She said, when you're in school, everybody that you're forced to do, doesn't matter what you're good at, you're forced to do art or music, science, et cetera, et cetera.
Mm-hmm.
And as we get older, we think when we get older, our worlds are going to expand. But what happens really is that they shrink, and we tend to do the things that we're good at, and we have less and less time for ourselves. So the things that you make time for usually tend to be in your comfort zone, right? There's just not a lot of it to go around. So I do think part of it is valuing this piece enough to say yes to yourself and say, yeah, I'm actually going to make time to get out of my comfort zone, but I'm going to do it in a way that's easy. And I'm going to do it in a way that I can meet other people. And by the way, I'm going to meet other people who I can also justify it to myself that this is advancing my career or advancing my company or whatever, that they're going to, get some networking value out of it as well. And then people allow themselves to do it,
Yes, it is interesting, all the boxes that need to be checked before the yes can occur.
Yeah.
And it's interesting as well as I reflect on people. I also lead culinary trips to France for solo female travelers. And it's interesting when I'm talking to a woman who says she wants to go, I'm like, amazing, let's do it. I'm so excited for you. And she's like, yeah, and my husband's telling me that I should go. Great, amazing, let's do it. She's like, and my kids, they just say, Mom, this trip, it's just, if you were a trip, this would be you. Like, that's great, amazing, let's go. Like, I don't understand what conversation we're having. And then she'll say, but I'm just not sure.
Yeah.
Like, oh my gosh, if anybody needs this trip, sweet queen, it is you. Like, I want you in my energy and in my vortex for a week, just so that I can help reflect back what everyone else is seeing for you that you can't see for yourself.
It's amazing because I know from my own, experience that years ago, I had, much younger kids and two girls, and they were little. And my best friend and I were talking about going to a music concert, in Chicago. And I was like, oh my gosh, I can't leave them for a whole weekend, kind of thing. And the experience of actually doing it and then coming back and sharing, having been so fed than being able to feed others. It's like the oxygen mask, analogy. And that was such a clear experience for me that I never did it again. I never said no again.
Right?
I never doubted that I could go for a few days and feed myself and then come back and be able to feed others. Otherwise, you're just drained all the time. So
All the time.
it's like that's our normal baseline is totally drained.
Right. Right.
So
Which is why I love these conversations, because my whole intention is to normalize saying yes,
yeah, it's so great.
which is why it's always an interview. It's always somebody else saying yes to themselves in some big or small way. And we talk about this on the podcast a lot, about this concept of giving from your saucer.
Mhm.
So, it's you fill your cup and then your cup overflows and then you give from your saucer. And then when your saucer is empty, you fill your cup again
Yeah,
until it overflows and give from your saucer. So we're never working from an empty cup, which we already know you
yeah.
cannot give from an empty cup. And we all say we can't give from an empty cup, and yet we're continue to do it.
We
So,
continue to try. Yeah, no,
right.
and there is some sort of martyrdom that we're all like, a part of that says that that's the way that you're being a good mother or you're being a good employee or whatever it is. And it's just not the case. It's not really true. It's
No,
we bought it. But
it's not serving us, and we can rewrite a new story.
it's interesting too, because reflecting on, this saying yes to yourself, there are two moments of my life that changed entirely based on having a real goal to say yes to anything anybody asked me to do. And it was one when I moved to Montana. I didn't know anybody and I didn't know how to do anything there. I moved to a ski resort. So anybody who asked me to do anything, I said, I'm just going to say yes. I'm just going to go prepared to say yes. So I bought all the clothes and all the things that I needed. And I had a snowboard and a horse before like 2 weeks was up.
Wow.
And it introduced me to all these people, and made some lifetime friends. Likewise, when I moved back to New York City, and we had to re-establish my life here, I was like, what am I going to do? And I thought, I'll just say yes again. And I, said yes to being on a pool team from playing pool at a bar one day. And that's how I met my husband. So
Oh my gosh.
yeah, like literally, it's like if it's the saying yes, it can change your life, if you really commit to it.
I love that so much. And of course, I mean, nobody's going to say, oh, well, I heard on a podcast, you just say yes. It comes with a knowledge, not necessarily of who you are, but it comes with a knowledge and an intention of the woman that you are becoming.
Or wish to be.
Yes. So I'm going to be her now. And
Mm,
I'm going to say yes to the things she would say yes to. And in those experiences, she is calling me
mm,
toward her.
yeah,
And I can answer that call because I created her. I am her. So it comes with an internal knowing and intention setting, which that needs to be preceded by actually knowing what you want. If you
absolutely.
don't, you can have a tank full of gas.
Totally.
If you have no destination, it
That's
doesn't matter. The vehicle is ready. But once we can identify what we want from a place of not judging ourselves and not putting limits on it, just this is dream.
yeah.
There's a conversation you have with the architect, and then there's a conversation you have with the general contractor. They're two different conversations. Like the architect's like, hey, I got a pencil and a piece of paper. I can draw whatever you want. Like, just bring it. And the contractor's like, well, that's expensive, or we could do this instead, or that's hard, or we're not talking to that guy. We're
Yeah.
talking to the architect and just identifying what is this dream in your heart today. Because sometimes if we grow up and it's like, oh, I've always had the dream of this, I've always, and then instead of that dream being what we're pursuing, instead we're just repeating the story of the dream, which happens, in both ways. It can be just repeating the story of the limitation also, and the limitation's not even there anymore. Sometimes we just need to revisit our dreams and
Yeah.
just like, what do I even still want that? Because you're allowed to change your mind,
Yeah.
and you are becoming every day. So things just change when you're changing. So identifying what you want and then making decisions today that cast a vote in the direction of that woman.
Yeah, I love that. And I think we're funny creatures, right? Like if we talk about something too much, or we think about it too much, or whatever, we think we're doing it. And it's like, it's not quite the same as, but we're funny that way. We can convince ourselves that we're doing something. Like, so it's really
Right.
like, oh, actually, I have to do some things in real life, to get myself where I want to go. But you're right. Like if you don't know where you're going, or you don't have that clear for yourself, that can be, then any road will lead there kind of thing.
Exactly. And you want to take that time and set those intentions and know what they are, but then inspired action is the only way to get there
That's
that I
right.
know of.
Yeah, that's
Someone
right.
has a shortcut, I'd love to hear.
Yeah, right. Exactly. We're gonna have we're just about to announce the first retreat of Project 1490. So we're going beyond the day of Badassery, and we're doing a multi-day thing up near you, actually.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I'm so excited about it. But that I think is a piece of, that I'm hoping really women are going to come and say yes to themselves, because I feel like that asking people to pull over for a few days and actually give themselves that time is and really, we're going to do all kinds of stuff. We're going to do wilderness survival skills and negotiation, skill building, all kinds of different stuff that both sort of cross over that kind of outdoor activities, kind of badassery, and then also actually stuff that you can really use in both your personal career and then also leadership. So people who are leading teams and everything from culture to how to lead better.
That's amazing. Now, and you said it's multi-day. So can you tell us everything that you would want someone to know? So you don't have to tell any surprises, but say everything. How many days is it? Where do you stay? What does the schedule look like? I am personally not a camper.
Mm.
Um, I just, yeah, it's just not my jam. So I would love to hear though, like what you're doing and how this is not me sleeping on the ground
Oh
and
yeah,
without the capability of washing my hands.
it's not glamping or camping this
Good.
time, although that may be in our future. But this is at a really cool place called the Racebrook Lodge up in Sheffield, Mass, in the Berkshires. It is it's right up your alley. It has a tavern there that from the 1700s. It's interesting. If anybody knows the sort of their histories. There's Shays Rebellion, and Shays Rebellion was like hatched in their tavern and stuff. It's very cool. And the rest of the place was like kind of built around it. And it's like very bohemian. It's got a really cool barn that they rebuilt in the back. And so it's gonna be awesome. We're gonna have about, I don't know, 30, 35 women, corporate women, executives from director to C-level. And we are going to do a whole, it's about 50% activities
Mhm.
and 50% content. And it's like 100% fun because
Yay.
so we'll be doing everything from campfire stuff, to poker nights. We're going to have a band. Of course, I end up talking about the nighttime stuff, but we're also we have an expert coming about doing a huge negotiation
Mm.
session. So people really leave with like what they can do to negotiate their next step, whether that's a promotion or a raise, or if it's negotiating on behalf of their team, whatever that is. But and then we have an incredible executive coach coming who's going to do some really great hotspot workshops. So really the idea is that people come with whatever their specific kind of situation is,
Sure.
and they get that kind of help over whatever obstacles in front of them. And then we have wilderness survival trainers that are coming for the afternoon and the following morning. And we're going to learn a whole bunch of skills, inclusive of archery and building fires and shelters and tools and all that kind of stuff. And like what you should have in a wilderness survival kit, all those kinds of things. And then the next day we're going to make it into go out into the woods, have a competition, have a team, and make it really super fun. And then intermixed in that is all the networking, and the food there is fantastic. So
Yay.
there's just a lot to be excited about. And we're gonna get out into nature, which is just huge for me. So it should be wonderful. Right now we are about to open it up to members first, and their guests, and then it'll be open to the public if there are spots left over from that group. So and it's in October. I should say that it's October 20th to the 22nd. And then we're doing add-on days. So if anybody wants to go fly fishing,
Oh, cool.
zip lining and rope coursing, there's a great ski hill near there, and we've partnered up with some fly fishing guides so you can extend the trip. And there's also massages and all sorts of stuff. So yeah.
Oh, I love it. It sounds amazing. I love that you're doing this. Is anybody else doing anything like this?
Not that I'm aware
I
of.
love that.
I think there's sort of an either or, right?
Mhm.
There's some really wonderful outdoor women's groups that you can go do some really great stuff with. And then there's obviously some wonderful corporate women organizations, a lot of them that I belong to, and they're wonderful in their own right too. But as far as I know, this is the only thing that's sort of combining the two. Um, and like we literally just the first day of Badassery was March, in the end of March. So like this literally just launched, and it's just been so well received. And we're just trying to get the word out now to expose it. And it's national. Like we're in New York, but we're so there's a lot of stuff happening in the Northeast, but we do virtual events, and we're going to be we've got some incredible venues out west that we will be hosting the forthcoming retreat. So it's going to be it's so fun. So now you know why I'm like so
Right.
happy.
I love this for you. It's amazing. It's so great. And so, can you talk a little bit about the membership? So, the retreat is something you said you're opening to members first.
Yeah.
How do people engage with the membership?
So membership is it's an exclusive membership, right? So it really is for women who are anywhere from manager to C-level. You have to have been in corporate for at least 10 years, and sort of got knocked around a bit. And then there's an online community. We have a big Slack instance, and where you'll find, inspiration, job boards, lots of different stuff happening online. Then we do some virtual events. Many are members only. We also open up some of the events to beyond our membership, so we can grow and we can expose
Oh,
other people to it. So there's the days of badassery and there's conversations with badasses. I overuse that word a lot.
Oh, no, I don't think so. I love it.
And yeah, but and then what we're trying to do is really find out from people as they join, what is the thing that you've always wished you could do? And so for some people, it's horseback riding. For some people, it's jumping out of a plane. Some people it's knitting, like it doesn't matter what it is.
Right.
But the idea is that we will then get, we'll get a critical mass of people who want to do that thing. And I'll go and organize it so that it make it super easy so that there's always a combination of what I call grace and grit, right? So
Mm.
there's the activity and then there's, some networking and there's a meal, we'll go out to dinner or we'll have a private chef or something. So that we're having sort of expressing all sides of our ourselves and yeah, so we've got a lot of stuff on the books. We've got some I found this incredible off-roading place that does all this stuff. We've got falconry hunting. We've got like a lot of horse stuff, like archery. There's like so many things that we've been able to find. Self-defense classes, all kinds of stuff like that we can and then there's the other side of it too, between conversations with badasses, where we bring women from different walks of life, but really have incredible stories. And then we also have, newsletters and all the things, right, that you would
Yes.
expect from a membership community and all the support for people as well.
I love it. I have so many ideas of women in my mind that I'm going to send your way. Some that might be great speakers for you as well. But definitely people to join the membership. It's just amazing. I'm so excited that you're doing this. I'm so excited that you're relatively close to me. It's just wonderful. Before I let you go, will you share how you came up with the name?
Oh yeah. So originally the name was Grace and Grit. And there's another person who has that name, believe it or not, in Montana. So I couldn't name it that. And so I really struggled to figure out what it was. And the one word that really resonated with me was Renaissance. And because Renaissance women, Renaissance men, they know a lot about a lot, right? And you know one when you see one, kind of thing. And so the 1490 was the first year of the Renaissance. And so I thought Project 1490 would be appropriate. And so that's how I got the name.
I agree. I love it. And it will be fun when you can do your retreat in Florence.
Oh yeah,
That'll be so fun.
gonna talk about that.
Yeah, that's a good time. That's so fun. Thank you so much for your time. I loved this conversation. I love everything that you're up to. I'm super excited. I know all my listeners are going to be very excited to follow along. Where can they find you?
So project1490.com. And on there, if you look at the membership page, there's a option for a call with me to find out more and see if there's a good fit. And so you can find me there. And then my glamping business is thecanvasexperience.com.
Fantastic. Oh, I love it. Now I have a question about the Canvas experience. So if somebody wants it to look like what you created for your one day, is that something that you offer?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. That's our lounge, our dining tent. Yeah, we rent all of those things out. And actually we're expanding to for people who want to purchase the whole thing.
Right?
We have a program now where you can purchase, I'll design the whole thing. You can do exactly what we have or different. We'll come set it up for you in the spring. You'll have it till, mid-fall. We'll take it down and store it for you all winter. And so we'll do rentals one night, weddings, reunions, backyard parties, pop-up guest rooms,
Summer
sleepover.
solstice white parties.
Totally,
I'm so excited.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, your place sounds like the perfect place.
Yeah, I'm so happy I asked. I'm just listening to my inner wisdom to ask the right questions, and I'm so excited I did.
Yes, it's perfect for that kind of thing because we really pride ourselves on doing an incredible kind of luxurious experience because I think the juxtaposition of sleeping out in nature and being incredibly comfortable is like the
It's
best
right.
combination of things.
Yes.
Yeah, so we love it. We love putting in all the things that you didn't think you'd ever see in a tent.
Oh my gosh, I'm obsessed. I'm so excited. I'm so excited to talk offline about this and how we can do this together and having it for the whole season.
Yeah.
I'm just a party waiting to happen. And I already was a party waiting to happen. And now I'm multiple parties waiting to happen.
Awesome.
I love that so much. Thank you again so much for your time. I just love everything that you're up to.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me. I love what you're up to too.
Thank you. I hope you enjoyed that conversation as much as I did. As always, any links or notes mentioned can be found at phineaswrighthouse.com in the podcast section of our site or in the show notes below. And if you haven't connected with me personally, come find me on Instagram at Phineas Wrighthouse and let me know you listened to this episode. I'd love to get to know you. Thank you for sharing this time with me. I know your days are full, and I'm really grateful that you chose to spend some of your precious time right here. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss any of these delightful conversations. I'll see you next week.